Captain Hyun-woo stared at the scanner display for the third time in 5 minutes. The numbers did not change. Something massive was out there in the empty space between stars. Something that should not exist. Commander Jaemin, come look at this, Hyun-woo called to his second-in-command. The tall, blue-skinned Centauri officer moved across the bridge of the Coalition survey ship Stellar Dawn with smooth steps. Jaemin's large black eyes studied the readings. His head tentacles twitched slightly, a sign he was thinking hard. Captain, this reading shows a ship, a very large ship, but our star charts say nothing should be in this sector. That's what I thought too. Hyun-woo ran his hand through his dark hair. The computer says it's a warship. Length is over 2,000 meters. But look at this energy signature. The Centauri commander leaned closer to the screen. These readings are strange. The energy pattern is not like anything in our database. Not Coalition, not from any known species. Hyun-woo nodded. And there's something else. The computer tried to match the ship design against known vessels. It came back with one result. What result? Human design. But the computer also says the ship is over 300 years old. Jaemin's tentacles stopped moving completely. This was how his species showed surprise. Captain, that is impossible. 300 years ago, humans had barely left their home system. They did not have ships that could travel this far from Earth. I know. Hyun-woo looked out at the stars through the bridge windows. But the readings don't lie. There's a human warship out there, older than any human space travel we know about. The bridge communications officer, a young human woman named Bo-Ra, turned in her chair. Captain, should I send a message to Coalition Command about this? Hyun-woo thought for a moment. Coalition rules were clear. Any unknown vessel had to be reported immediately. But something about this felt different. If this was really an ancient human ship, it could change everything people knew about human history. Not yet, Bo-Ra. First, we need to learn more about what we're looking at. Dr. Soo-jin walked onto the bridge carrying her data pad. She was the ship's xenoarchaeologist, an expert in studying old alien cultures and technology. Her job was to examine anything ancient or mysterious they found during their surveys. Captain, I heard the crew talking about an old ship. Is it true? She asked. Very true, Doctor. And I think you're going to find this very interesting. Hyun-woo gestured to the main screen. Show her the readings, Commander Jaemin. Dr. Soo-jin studied the data. Her eyes grew wide as she read the numbers. This energy signature is incredible. It's not just old technology. It's technology that seems more advanced than what we have now. How is that possible? Asked Jaemin. I don't know, but I've studied many ancient civilizations. Sometimes they developed in ways that surprise us. Maybe humans had some kind of secret technology program centuries ago. Hyun-woo made his decision. Bo-Ra, set course for the unknown vessel. We're going to take a closer look. Yes, Captain. The Stellar Dawn changed direction and began moving toward the mysterious ship. As they got closer, their sensors picked up more details. The vessel was huge, much larger than any human ship in the current Coalition fleet. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, and covered with strange markings that looked like human writing, but in a style no one recognized. "Captain," said the censor. "Officer, the ship appears to be drifting. No engine activity, no communication signals, but it's not dead. There are power readings coming from inside." "What kind of power readings?" "Very low level, like a ship in standby mode, but the power source is unknown. It's not fusion, not antimatter, not anything we've seen before." Dr. Su-Jin was taking notes on her data pad as fast as she could write. "Captain, I need to study this ship up close. These readings could be the most important archaeological discovery in decades." "I was thinking the same thing, Doctor, but we need to be careful. We don't know if this ship is dangerous." Jamin checked his tactical display. "Captain, our weapons are ready if needed, but the ship shows no signs of active weapon systems." As they moved closer, the ship's true size became clear. It was not just big, it was enormous. The hull stretched out in front of them like a metal mountain floating in space. Strange towers and structures covered its surface. Some looked like weapon emplacements, but they were designs no one had ever seen. "My God," whispered Bo-Ra. "Look at the name on the hull." Everyone looked at the main screen. There, painted in large letters on the side of the ship, was a single word: Retribution. "That's definitely human writing," said Dr. Su-Jin. "Old Earth English." "But what's a ship called Retribution doing out here?" asked Jamin. Hyunwoo studied the vessel carefully. Something about it felt wrong, but not dangerous wrong. More like mysterious wrong. Like looking at a puzzle with missing pieces. "Doctor, what do you think? Should we try to board her?" "Doctor." Su-Jin looked at the readings again. "The ship appears stable. Life support systems are active, though at minimum levels. The hull integrity looks good. I think it's safe to send over a boarding party." "What about the age issue? If this ship is really 300 years old, why does it look so well preserved?" "That's one of the things we need to find out, Captain." Hyunwoo nodded. "Jamin, prepare a boarding team. Small group, full environmental suits, standard exploration equipment. Dr. Su-Jin will lead the scientific team." "Understood, Captain. Who else should go?" "Take Lieutenant Do-Hyun for security, and Engineer Mi-young for technical support. Keep the team small but capable." As the crew prepared for the boarding mission, Hyunwoo continued to study the strange ship on his screens. Something about it bothered him. The design was clearly human, but it was like no human ship he had ever seen. It looked more like something from a war than from exploration or trade. The weapon emplacements were particularly concerning. They were huge, much larger than anything on coalition warships, and there were so many of them. This was a ship built for serious fighting. But fighting what? 300 years ago, humans were just beginning to explore their own solar system. They had no enemies in space, no reason to build weapons like these. "Captain," said Dr. Su-Jin, now wearing her environmental suit, "the boarding team is ready." "Good. Remember, this is just a survey mission. Get in, look around, gather data, get out. Don't touch anything you don't have to. We don't know what kind of technology we're dealing with." "Understood, Captain." "And Doctor?" If anything seems dangerous, anything at all, you get your team out of there immediately. This ship has been drifting in space for 3 centuries. We can wait a little longer to solve its mysteries if we need to. Dr. Su-Jin smiled. Don't worry, Captain. We'll be careful. The boarding shuttle launched from the stellar dawn and moved toward the massive warship. As it approached, the shuttle looked like a tiny insect next to the enormous hull of the Retribution. Hyun-woo watched on the bridge screens as his crew prepared to unlock the secrets of the Phantom warship. He had a feeling that what they found inside would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. The mystery of the Retribution was about to begin. The boarding shuttle attached to the side of the Retribution with a soft clank. Dr. Su-Jin checked her environmental suit one more time before nodding to her team. Lieutenant Do-hyun stood ready with his weapon lowered but prepared. Engineer. Mi-young carried her scanning equipment and toolkit. Shuttle is secure, reported the pilot through their comm system. Airlock connection is good. The ship's outer hull is responding to our docking request. Dr. Su-Jin looked surprised. The ship is responding? But it's supposed to be an empty derelict. That's what I thought too, said Do-hyun. But something is definitely active in there. The airlock door on the Retribution opened by itself. Beyond it was a corridor that should have been dark and cold after 3 centuries in space. Instead, soft blue lights came on automatically as they entered, showing clean metal walls and floors that looked almost new. This is impossible, whispered Mi-young. This ship is 300 years old, but everything looks like it was built yesterday. Dr. Su-Jin took out her scanner and began recording everything. The air composition is perfect for humans. Temperature is comfortable. How is this ship maintaining life support after all this time? They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were wide and tall, built for a crew much larger than anything on modern ships. Strange symbols were carved into the walls alongside normal human writing. The symbols looked ancient, but not like anything from Earth's history. Doctor, said Do-hyun, look at these weapon storage areas. They stopped at a series of rooms filled with racks that once held weapons. The racks were empty now, but the size of them suggested weapons much larger and more powerful than anything in current use. This wasn't just a warship, said Dr. Su-Jin. This was a battleship designed for major combat. But combat against what? Mi-young was scanning the walls with her equipment. The metal composition is strange. It's not just steel or titanium. There are elements here I don't recognize. And the construction methods are more advanced than anything we use today. They continued exploring, finding room after room of technology that seemed both ancient and futuristic. The ship's design was clearly human, but it was like humans from a different timeline, a different history than what everyone knew. Team leader, came Captain Hyun-woo's voice through their comm system. What's your status? We're fine, Captain, replied Dr. Su-Jin. But this ship is full of surprises. It's not abandoned. The computer systems are active, life support is running, and everything is in perfect condition. How is that possible? We don't know yet. We're heading toward what looks like the bridge now. The bridge of the Retribution was enormous. It could have held 50 people easily. Command stations were arranged in a circle around a central captain's chair that looked more like a throne. Large screens covered the walls, most of them dark, but a few showing star charts and ship status information. "Look at this," said Mi Young, pointing to one of the active screens. "The ship's computer is tracking our movements. It knows we're here." Dr. Sujin approached the main command console carefully. The interface looks human, but much more advanced than anything we have. There are controls here I don't understand. Suddenly, all the screens came to life at once. Lights throughout the bridge grew brighter. A low humming sound filled the air as systems activated throughout the ship. "What did you do?" asked Do-hyun, raising his weapon slightly. "Nothing," said Dr. Sujin. "I didn't touch anything," a voice spoke from speakers around the bridge. It was a human voice, speaking clear English, with an accent that sounded both old and strange. "Welcome aboard the UHS Retribution. I am the ship's automated systems. Please identify yourselves." The three team members looked at each other in shock. Do-hyun kept his weapon ready but didn't point it at anything specific. There was nothing to shoot at. "This is Dr. Sujin of the Coalition survey ship Stellar Dawn. We found your ship drifting in space. We came to investigate." "Coalition? I do not have that designation in my database. Please provide your nation of origin." "We represent the Galactics." "Coalition? A union of many species, including humans." "What is the UHS designation?" "United Human Systems. I am programmed to assist authorized personnel only." "Are you human?" Dr. Sujin hesitated. "Yes, I am human. My companions are also from Coalition species." There was a pause. Then the voice continued, but it sounded different now. More interested, more alive. Human. "It has been a very long time since I have spoken with a human. Please wait while I access historical records." The screens around the bridge began showing information, scrolling past too fast to read. Charts, star maps, technical specifications, and what looked like battle reports filled the displays. "Dr. Sujin," came Captain Hyunwoo's voice, "we're reading massive power increases throughout that ship. What's happening over there?" "The ship's computer system is waking up, Captain. It's been dormant, but our presence seems to have activated it." Mi Young was scanning the active systems with her equipment. "Doctor, the power source for this ship is incredible. It's generating more energy than our entire ship, but I still can't identify what type of power system it's using." The ship's voice spoke again. "Records accessed. Current date is significant. I have been dormant for 312 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Much has changed." "What is this ship?" asked Dr. Sujin. "What was its mission?" "The UHS Retribution was constructed as humanity's ultimate weapon against the Devourer threat. We were part of the Deep-Range Fleet, tasked with protecting human colonies in the outer systems." Do-hyun lowered his weapon slightly. "What colonies? What outer systems? Humans didn't have colonies 300 years ago." "Incorrect. Humans established their first extrasolar colonies 423 years ago. The Deep-Range Fleet was created to protect them from the entities we called Devourers." Dr. Sujin felt her mind racing. Everything they knew about human history was wrong. "What happened to these colonies? Where are they now?" Unknown. I lost contact with all human colonies and fleet units during the final battle with the Devourer. Swarm. I have been waiting for instructions since that time. Mi Young stepped forward. What are Devourers? The screens around the bridge changed to show images that made all three team members step back in fear. Dark shapes moved through space, consuming everything in their path. Planets, stars, entire solar systems disappeared into writhing masses of shadow. Devourers are entities from dimensions beyond normal space. They consume matter, energy, and life itself. Humanity developed special weapons to fight them, including this vessel. What makes this ship special? Asked Dr. Su Jin. The Retribution is equipped with reality anchor systems and dimensional phase technology. We can exist partially outside normal space-time, making us difficult for Devourers to detect or attack. Do-hyun looked at the others. That explains why our sensors had trouble getting clear readings on this ship. Correct. This vessel exists in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. It is why I have remained operational for over 3 centuries without normal maintenance. Dr. Su Jin realized they had discovered something far more important than an old ship. They had found evidence of a completely unknown chapter of human history, and possibly the key to fighting an enemy that might still exist. Ship's computer. What is your current status? Are you fully operational? Most systems are functional, but have been in standby mode. Full activation would require authorization from a commanding officer of the United Human Systems Fleet. What if no such officers exist anymore? There was another pause. Then humanity may be in great danger. The Devourers are not destroyed, only sleeping. If they return and humanity is unprepared. The voice trailed off, leaving the team standing. In the vast bridge surrounded by technology they barely understood, holding secrets that could change the fate of the galaxy. Dr. Su Jin stared at the images of the Devourers on the screens around her. The dark shapes looked like living nightmares, consuming everything they touched. She forced herself to focus on the ship's voice. Computer, can you show us more about what happened during this final battle you mentioned? I can access historical records, but much data was damaged during combat operations. Would you like me to attempt a full system restoration? Lieutenant Do-hyun stepped forward. What does that mean exactly? Full restoration would activate all ship systems and awaken the command consciousness stored in the primary core. Mi Young looked up from her scanner. Command consciousness? What is that? When Admiral Tae-ho realized the battle was lost, he uploaded his mind to the ship's computer system. He has been in dormant status, waiting for the ship to be needed again. The 3 team members exchanged worried glances. Do-hyun spoke first. There's a human mind stored in this computer? A living person? Admiral Tae-ho is not living in the traditional sense, but his consciousness, memories, and personality remain intact within the ship's systems. He is the Retribution, and the Retribution is him. Dr. Su Jin felt a chill run down her spine. How long has he been waiting in there? 312 years, 4 months, and 16 days. The silence On the bridge was broken by Captain Hyunwoo's voice through their comm system. Dr. Soo-jin, we're reading massive changes in that ship's energy output. What's your situation? Captain, we've discovered something incredible. This ship contains the consciousness of its former commander. He's been waiting here for over 3 centuries. That's impossible. So was finding this ship, but here we are. Captain, I think we need to wake him up. He might have answers about the Devourers and what happened to the human colonies. There was a long pause before Hyunwoo responded. Doctor, are you sure that's safe? We don't know what this person might do when he wakes up. Dr. Soo-jin looked at the screens showing the Devourer images. Captain, if these things are still out there, we need to know about them. Admiral Taeho fought them before. He might be our only source of information. Proceed, but carefully. If anything goes wrong, get your team out of there immediately. Doctor, Soo-jin turned back to the ship's computer interface. Computer, we would like to speak with Admiral Taeho. Can you wake him safely? Beginning consciousness restoration sequence. Please stand by. The lights throughout the bridge dimmed and then grew brighter than before. The humming sound increased, and new displays came online throughout the command center. The main screen in front of the captain's chair flickered and then showed the image of a middle-aged Korean man in a military uniform, unlike anything from current Earth forces. The image looked around the bridge, taking in the 3 visitors. When Admiral Taeho spoke, his voice was clear and strong, but there was something tired in his eyes. I am Admiral Taeho, commanding officer of the UHS Retribution. You are not my crew. Please identify yourselves. Dr. Soo-jin stepped forward. Admiral, I am Dr. Soo-jin. This is Lieutenant Do-hyun and Engineer Mi-young. We are from the Galactic Coalition, a union of species that includes modern humanity. Admiral Taeho studied them carefully. Modern humanity? What has become of the colonies? What has become of Earth? Admiral, we need to understand what happened first. According to our history records, humans never had colonies outside Earth's solar system 300 years ago. The Admiral's image flickered slightly, showing his confusion. That cannot be correct. The deep-range colonies were humanity's greatest achievement. New Seoul, Neo-Busan, the mining stations around Kepler 442. We had over 30 settlements across 12 star systems. Mi-young spoke up. Admiral, we've never heard of any of these places. Modern human space travel only. Began about 200 years ago. Admiral Taeho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with sadness. Then we failed completely. The Devourers must have destroyed everything, and somehow Earth's population forgot about the colonies entirely. What exactly were these Devourers? Asked Dr. Soo-jin. The main screen changed to show detailed images of the dark entities. Admiral Taeho's voice became grim as he explained. They came from spaces between dimensions. They were not alive in any way we understood, but they consumed life, matter, and energy. When they attacked a planet, nothing remained. Not even dust. The planet would simply cease to exist. Do-hyun looked at the images with growing alarm. How did you fight something like that? With great difficulty and enormous losses. Traditional. Weapons were useless against them. They could phase in and out of normal space at will. We had to develop new types of weapons, new types of ships. The Admiral gestured, and the screens showed technical diagrams of weapons and ship systems that looked far beyond current technology. The Retribution and her sister ships were equipped with reality anchors. These devices could lock space-time in a specific dimensional state, preventing the Devourers from phasing away from our attacks. Mi-Young studied the technical displays. This technology is incredible. How did humanity develop such advanced systems? We had help, said Admiral Tejo. We found ruins of an ancient civilization that had fought the Devourers millions of years ago. They left behind certain technologies and warnings about what was coming. Dr. Su-Jin felt pieces of a puzzle falling into place. Admiral, what happened in the final battle? Why are you here alone? The Admiral's image looked down for a moment before answering. The Devourers launched their largest attack against the core colonies. Every ship in the deep-range fleet was called to defend New Seoul. We fought for 18 days. The screens showed battle scenes that were both magnificent and terrifying. Massive human warships fired weapons that tore holes in space itself, while dark shapes swarmed around them like living shadows. We were winning at first. Our reality anchors were working, and we were destroying Devourer entities faster than they could regenerate. But then they did something we had not expected. What did they do? They began consuming our own weapons. The reality anchors that were supposed to trap them became sources of power for them instead. Our greatest weapons became their strength. Admiral Tejo's image flickered with what might have been pain or anger. I made the decision to withdraw the Retribution and 17 other ships from the main battle. We were to hide in distant space and wait for a chance to strike back. But before we could reach our hiding positions, the Devourers found us. The screens showed the Retribution fleeing through space while pursued by dark shapes that moved faster than seemed possible. 16 ships were destroyed in the chase. Only the Retribution escaped, and only because I activated the experimental phase systems that let us exist partially outside normal space-time. Dr. Su-Jin asked the question they were all thinking. What happened to the colonies? What happened to Earth? I do not know. When I tried to contact Earth after the battle, there was no response. When I tried to reach the colonies, I found only empty space where planets should have been. Everything was gone. The bridge was silent except for the humming of the ships. Systems! Finally, Du-hyun spoke. Admiral, if the Devourers won, why didn't they come to Earth in our solar system? Admiral Tejo looked directly at him. Who says they did not? If modern humanity has no memory of the colonies, no memory of the war, then perhaps Earth was attacked as well. Perhaps the Devourers did something to human minds, not just human, worlds. The thought sent chills through all three team members. Dr. Su-Jin realized they might have discovered not just an old ship, but evidence of a war that had been erased from human memory. Admiral, she said, we need to know everything. If the Devourers are still out there, humanity needs to be prepared. Admiral Tejo nodded grimly. Then we must hope they remain sleeping, because if they wake up and find humanity defenseless, This galaxy will share the fate of the deep-range colonies. The alarm systems throughout the Retribution suddenly came to life with a sound that made everyone on the bridge jump. Red lights flashed as Admiral Tejo's image turned toward the tactical displays with an expression of pure horror. "No," he whispered. "Not now. Not when humanity is unprepared." Dr. Su-Jin felt her heart racing. "Admiral, what's happening?" "The activation of my consciousness has sent ripples through dimensional space. The Devourers have felt it. They know the Retribution is awake again." On the main screen, space around the ship began to change. Stars flickered and twisted as reality itself seemed to bend. Dark shapes started appearing at the edges of sensor range, moving toward them with impossible speed. Lieutenant Do-hyun grabbed his weapon. "How many are coming?" Admiral Tejo's fingers moved across controls that appeared on his display. Initial scans show 3 scout entities, but where there are scouts, a swarm will follow. Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through, their comm system filled with urgency. "Dr. Su-Jin, we're seeing massive space distortions around your position. Our sensors are going crazy. What's your status?" "Captain, the enemy Admiral Tejo warned us about is coming. We need to get back to the ship immediately." "Negative, Doctor. Our engines won't start. Something is interfering with all our systems." "Admiral." Tejo looked at the 3 team members. "The Devourers create disruption fields that affect normal technology. Your ship is trapped until we deal with the scout entities." Mi-young checked her scanner and saw readings that made no sense. "Admiral, these energy signatures are unlike anything I've ever seen. They're not following normal physics." "That is correct. Devourers exist partially outside our dimensional space. They can ignore many of the rules that limit normal matter and energy." The first Devourer scout appeared on the main screen. It looked like a dark cloud shaped roughly like a ship, but its edges kept shifting and changing. Where it moved through space, stars behind it disappeared completely. Dr. Su-Jin stared at the thing in fascination and terror. "It's erasing the stars. How is that possible?" "Devourers consume everything, including light and space itself. What you are seeing is a small scout. The larger entities can consume entire planets in minutes." Do-hyun raised his weapon toward the screen, then realized how useless the gesture was. "How do we fight something like that?" Admiral Tejo's image smiled grimly. "With weapons that should not exist on a ship that operates outside normal reality. Retribution. Activate combat systems." The ship around them came alive with power. Lights changed from blue to red, and the humming sound became a deep throb that they could feel in their bones. Weapon systems that had been sleeping for 3 centuries began to charge with energy. "Admiral," said Dr. Su-Jin, "shouldn't we try to run instead of fighting?" "There is no running from Devourers. They can track dimensional signatures across vast distances. The only way to stop them is to destroy them completely." On the tactical display, 2 more scout entities appeared. They moved in patterns that hurt to watch, sometimes seeming to be in 2 places at once, sometimes disappearing completely before reappearing somewhere else. Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through the comm again. "Dr. Su-Jin, we're reading weapons charging on that ship. Massive energy levels. What are you planning to do? We're going to fight, Captain. Admiral Tejo says it's the only way to save your ship and crew. Fight with what? Our weapons won't even target those things properly. Admiral Tejo answered the question. Captain Hyun-woo of the Stellar Dawn, this is Admiral Tejo of the Retribution. Your weapons cannot harm devourers because they exist in normal space only. Our weapons operate across multiple dimensions simultaneously. There was silence from the coalition ship. Finally, Hyun-woo responded. Admiral, this is Captain Hyun-woo. Are you saying you're going to protect us? I am saying we are going to destroy the scouts before they can summon a full swarm, but your crew should prepare for combat unlike anything they have seen before. The first Devourer scout moved closer to the Retribution. As it approached, reality around it became unstable. The stars twisted into strange shapes, and space itself looked like it was melting. Firing reality anchor, announced Admiral Tejo. A beam of energy shot from the Retribution toward the scout entity. But this was not normal energy. Where the beam passed, space became solid and fixed. The twisting and changing stopped, and the Devourer was suddenly locked in normal dimensional space. The scout entity seemed to realize what had happened. It tried to phase away but could not move. For the first time, it was trapped in the same reality as normal matter. Target locked. In dimensional space. Firing quantum disruptors. The Retribution's main weapons fired. The energy beams looked like purple lightning that moved in impossible patterns. When they hit the trapped Devourer, the entity began to dissolve. Its dark shape flickered and faded until nothing remained. Mi Young watched her scanner in amazement. The energy readings are incredible. That weapon somehow attacked the target across multiple dimensions at once. Correct, said Admiral Tejo. Normal weapons fire energy through three-dimensional space. Our weapons fire through 7 dimensions simultaneously. Devourers cannot escape into dimensions that are also under attack. The second scout entity moved toward them, but now it seemed more cautious. It stayed further away and kept changing. Position rapidly. Dr. Su Jin noticed something on the displays. Admiral, that one is learning from what happened to the first scout. Yes. Devourers can share information instantly across any distance. Every entity in their swarm now knows how we destroyed the first scout. The second scout began to split, apart, becoming multiple smaller shapes that moved in different directions. Each piece was harder to target and could move more quickly. Clever, said Admiral Tejo. But we have fought this tactic before. Retribution, activate area denial systems. New weapons appeared on the ship's hull. These did not fire beams or projectiles. Instead, they created fields of energy that filled large areas of space. The multiple pieces of the second scout found themselves trapped in energy fields that locked them all in normal space at once. All targets locked. Firing spread pattern. Dozens of quantum disruptor beams fired simultaneously, destroying all pieces of the divided scout entity in seconds. But the third scout was already adapting. It had moved much further away and was doing something different. Dark energy began to gather around it, and space in that area became completely black. What is it doing? Asked Do-hyun. Admiral Tae-ho's expression became worried. It is opening a dimensional gateway. It plans to bring reinforcements. The gateway grew larger, and through it came something that made the scout entities look small. A devourer warrior emerged from the dark portal, 10 times larger than the scouts and crackling with energy that made reality bend around it. "Admiral," said Dr. Sujin, "can the Retribution fight something that big?" "We are about to find out. But first, we must prevent more entities from coming through that gateway." Admiral Tae-ho began working at controls that appeared faster than the humans could follow. "Captain Hyun-woo, if your crew has any emergency procedures for impossible situations, now would be an excellent time to use them." The Devourer warrior began moving toward both ships, and where it passed, space itself began to crack like broken glass. The real battle was about to begin. Engineer Mi-young looked at her scanner and saw readings that should have been impossible. "Admiral, that thing is generating enough energy to destroy a planet." "Yes," said Admiral Tae-ho calmly. "That is exactly what it was designed to do." The Devourer warrior moved toward them like a living storm of darkness. Its massive form shifted and twisted as it traveled through space, leaving a trail of nothingness behind it. Dr. Sujin watched in horror as entire sections of space simply ceased to exist where the creature passed. Admiral Tae-ho stood calmly in the center of the bridge, his image flickering slightly as he concentrated on multiple control systems at once. "Retribution. Prepare for full combat activation. All weapon systems, all defensive systems, all experimental systems." "Admiral," asked Lieutenant Do-hyun, "what are experimental systems?" "Weapons we built but never had time to test properly, before the final battle 300 years ago. We are about to discover if they work." The ship around them began to change in ways that seemed impossible. The walls became transparent, showing the space outside but also showing other spaces, other dimensions that existed in the same location. The floor beneath their feet felt solid but looked like it was floating in a sea of stars. Mi-young stared at her scanner in confusion. "I'm getting readings that say we're in 7 different places at the same time. How is that possible? The Retribution exists in multiple dimensional layers simultaneously," explained Admiral Tae-ho. "This allows us to fire weapons from dimensions the Devourers cannot see, and it makes us very difficult to destroy." On the main screen, the Devourer warrior had grown larger as it approached. It was now the size of a small moon, and its presence was affecting reality in a wide area around both ships. Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through their comm system, filled with static and interference. "Dr. Sujin can barely... Ship systems failing. What is that thing doing to us?" Admiral Tae-ho answered, before Dr. Sujin could respond. "Captain, the Devourer is creating a reality disruption field. Your ship exists only in normal space, so the field is tearing apart your systems. Move your vessel behind the Retribution. Our dimensional shields will protect you." "Moving now," came Hyun-woo's strained voice. Dr. Sujin watched as the stellar dawn moved closer to the Retribution. As soon as the coalition ship entered the area around the ancient warship, its systems stabilized and the static cleared from their communications. "That's better," said Captain Hyun-woo. But I'm reading energy levels from your ship that are beyond anything I thought possible. What kind of power source are you using? Controlled quantum singularities, said Admiral Tejo. We contain small black holes and use their energy output to power our systems. It was the only way to generate enough power for dimensional warfare. The Devourer warrior was now close enough that they could see details of its structure. It was not really a creature, but more like a collection of dark energy held together by forces that operated outside normal physics. Tentacle-like extensions reached out from its main body, each one capable of destroying a ship with a single touch. Beginning primary attack sequence, announced Admiral Tejo. The Retribution fired its main weapons, but this time, the attack was different from what they had used against the scouts. Instead of beams of energy, the ship fired what looked like tears in space itself. The tears moved toward the Devourer warrior, and where they passed, reality became unstable. The warrior tried to phase away from the attack, but the tears followed it across dimensions. When they reached the entity, parts of its dark form began to disappear completely. Not destroyed, but simply removed from existence. What kind of weapon is that? Asked Do-hyun in amazement. Reality erasers, said Admiral Tejo. They remove matter and energy from all dimensional layers simultaneously. The target does not die or get destroyed. It simply stops existing. But the Devourer warrior was much more powerful than the scouts. It began to regenerate the parts that had been erased, pulling energy and matter from the space around it. As it healed itself, nearby stars grew dimmer, their energy being consumed to repair the damage. It's feeding on the stars, said Dr. Sujin. How do we fight something that can use entire solar systems as food? With weapons that attack the source of its power, not just its physical form, replied Admiral Tejo. New systems came online throughout the Retribution. The ship began to emit a field of energy that spread out in all directions. Where the field touched the Devourer warrior, the entity stopped being able to absorb energy from the stars. Dimensional isolation field activated, said Admiral Tejo. The entity is now cut off from external power sources. It can only use the energy it already contains. The Devourer warrior seemed to realize what had happened. It began moving more, aggressively, lashing out with its tentacle extensions toward both ships. But as it moved, it was getting smaller and weaker without new energy to sustain it. However, the third scout entity was still maintaining the dimensional gateway it had opened. Through the dark portal, more shapes were becoming visible. An entire swarm of devourers was preparing to enter normal space. Admiral, said Mi-young, if all those entities come through that gateway, can we fight them all? Admiral Tejo looked at the gateway with an expression of grim determination. Not with conventional weapons. But the Retribution has one more capability that we have not yet used. The ship began to change again. This time the changes were more dramatic. Parts of the hull became transparent, while other parts seemed to exist in multiple locations at once. The bridge where they stood appeared to stretch out into infinity, with control stations extending in all directions through dimensional space. What is happening to the ship? Asked Dr. Sujin. Full-dimensional deployment. The retribution is now existing in all 7 dimensions simultaneously, with full access to our most powerful systems. Another consciousness suddenly appeared on the bridge. It was the image of a woman in the same style of uniform as Admiral Tae-ho. She looked around the bridge with interest before focusing on the visitors. "I am Chief Scientist Sung-ho," she said. "I have been dormant while Admiral Tae-ho handled standard combat operations, but multi-dimensional warfare requires my expertise." "There are more people stored in this ship?" asked Do-hyeon. "The entire senior command crew uploaded their consciousness before the final battle," explained Admiral Tae-ho. "We knew that if humanity survived, they would need our knowledge to fight the Devourers again." Chief Scientist Sung-ho began working at control systems that appeared around her image. "Admiral, the gateway is growing larger. I estimate 12 minutes before the main swarm arrives." "Then we proceed with the Quantum Cascade Protocol." "What is that?" asked Dr. Soo-jin. Sung-ho looked at her with a mix of pride and sadness. "A weapon that uses the energy of an entire star system to create a reality storm. It will destroy all devourer entities in this region of space, but it will also make this solar system uninhabitable for millions of years." The 3 coalition team members looked at each other in shock. They were witnessing the preparation of a weapon that could destroy star systems. "Is there no other way?" asked Dr. Soo-jin. Admiral Tae-ho shook his head. "If the main swarm enters normal space, they will consume everything in their path until they reach inhabited worlds. Better to sacrifice one empty system than lose billions of lives." Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through their comm. "Admiral, we're reading massive energy buildup in local space. What are you preparing to do?" "We are preparing to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of when our survival is threatened," replied Admiral Tae-ho. The stars around them began to pulse with unnatural light as the retribution prepared to unleash the full power of human ingenuity and determination. The stars around them began to pulse with strange colors as the retribution drew energy from the entire solar system. Dr. Soo-jin watched in amazement as Chief Scientist Sung-ho worked at controls that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. "Admiral," said Sung-ho, "I'm detecting something unusual about the Devourer Gateway. It's not just bringing entities from their home dimension. It's creating a permanent bridge between dimensions." Admiral Tae-ho's expression became more serious. "That changes everything. If they establish a permanent gateway, they can bring through their entire civilization. We cannot allow that to happen." Lieutenant Do-hyeon looked at the main screen where more dark shapes were becoming visible through the portal. "How many of them are there? In their home dimension? Millions, maybe billions. They have consumed entire galaxies in other parts of the universe," replied Admiral Tae-ho. Mi-young checked her scanner and saw readings that made her step back in shock. "The gateway is growing larger every second. At this rate, it will be big, enough for their largest entities to come through in less than 10 minutes. Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through their comm system. "Admiral Tae-ho, our long-range sensors are detecting coalition ships responding to our emergency signal. A full battle fleet is on its way." How long until they arrive? Asked Admiral. Tay-ho! 2 hours at maximum speed. They will arrive too late. The gateway will be fully open long before then, and normal weapons cannot harm devourers. Dr. Sujin realized what that meant. Admiral, you're going to attack their home dimension directly, aren't you? It is the only way to stop them permanently. We must take the fight to them before they can establish their foothold in our reality. Chief, Scientist Sung-Ho looked up from her controls. Admiral, I have a better idea. Instead of the quantum cascade protocol, we could use the dimensional inversion system. Explain. We reverse the gateway. Instead of allowing devourers to come into our dimension, we pull their entire local swarm into our reality where they cannot phase away. Then we destroy them all at once. Admiral Taeho considered this for a moment. The energy requirements would be enormous, and we would have to fight hundreds of devourers simultaneously in normal space. But they would all be trapped here, unable to escape back to their dimension. One massive battle instead of an endless war. The devourer warrior they had been fighting was now much smaller and weaker, cut off from external energy sources by the Retribution's isolation field. But through the gateway, much larger shapes were becoming visible. Decision made, said Admiral Taeho. We implement the dimensional inversion. Retribution, prepare for full combat deployment across all dimensional layers. The ship around them began to transform in ways that hurt to look at directly. Parts of the bridge existed in normal space, while other parts extended into dimensions that human eyes could not properly see. Dr. Sujin felt dizzy as her mind tried to process the impossible geometry. Team members, said Admiral Taeho. You should return to your ship immediately. What we are about to do will be dangerous even for the Retribution. No, said Dr. Sujin firmly. If humanity is about to reveal its true power to the galaxy, we need to witness it. We need to record it so that others will understand. Du Hyan nodded in agreement. Besides, our ship is safer here behind your shields than anywhere else in this system. Admiral Taeho smiled grimly. Very well, but stay close to the dimensional anchor points. If you drift too far from stable reality, you may become lost between dimensions. The Retribution began to move toward the Devourer gateway, but its movement was unlike anything they had seen before. The ship seemed to exist in multiple places at once, approaching the portal from several directions simultaneously, while also remaining in its original position. How is that possible? Asked Mi-young. We are using probability manipulation, explained Chief Scientist Sung-Ho. The ship exists in all possible positions where it might be. Then we collapse the probability, wave to the position we need. As they approached the gateway, the devourers on the other side seemed to notice them. Dark shapes began moving toward the portal from their dimension, preparing to attack as soon as the Retribution came within range. Initiating dimensional inversion, announced Seong-ho. The Retribution fired not weapons, but fields of pure dimensional energy at the gateway. The portal began to change, its dark interior shifting and twisting. Instead of allowing passage from the Devourer dimension to normal space, it began pulling everything from the Devourer side into their reality. The first entities to be pulled through were the smaller scouts, but they emerged into normal space unable to phase away. They were trapped in three-dimensional reality for the first time in their existence. "Dimensional locks engaged," said Admiral Tejo. "All entities pulled through the inverted gateway are now confined to normal space. They cannot escape." More and more devourers came through the portal, not by choice, but pulled by the dimensional inversion field. Soon there were dozens of them, then hundreds, all trapped in normal space and unable to use their greatest advantage. But these were not just scouts and warriors. Some of the entities coming through were massive, larger than entire space stations. Their presence in normal space created gravitational distortions that affected both ships. "Admiral," said Captain Hyun-woo through the comm, "the gravitational effects are tearing our ship apart. We can't take much more of this." "Retribution. Extend dimensional shields to full protective radius," ordered Admiral Tejo. The ancient warship's shields expanded to cover both vessels, stabilizing the local space-time and protecting the coalition ship from the gravitational chaos. Dr. Soo-jin watched as more consciousness images appeared on the bridge. A man in uniform appeared beside Admiral Tejo. "I am Navigation Officer Yun-ah," he said. "Admiral, we have successfully pulled their entire local swarm into our reality. Over 800 devourer entities are now trapped in normal space within weapons range." "Excellent. Begin synchronized firing pattern alpha." What happened next was unlike anything anyone had ever seen in space combat. The Retribution fired weapons from all 7 dimensions simultaneously. Reality erasers, quantum disruptors, dimensional anchors, and energy types that had no names all fired at once. The trapped devourers tried to defend themselves, but they were fighting in an environment where their greatest strengths were useless. They could not phase away, could not merge with each other, could not draw energy from their home dimension. The battle was massive, but one-sided. Entity after entity was destroyed by weapons that attacked them across multiple dimensions. Those that tried to group together for defense found themselves targeted by reality storms that simply removed them from existence. "Incredible," whispered Mi-young. "It's like watching gods fight." "No," said Admiral Tejo, "it is like watching humans fight when our survival depends on it. We built these weapons and developed these tactics because we had no choice. When faced with extinction, humanity becomes something beyond normal limits. The last of the trapped devourers was destroyed, and the inverted gateway began to collapse. But before it closed completely, something came through that made everyone on the bridge step back in fear. It was not a devourer entity. It was a message, broadcast in perfect human language from something on the other side of the closing portal. "Humans, we remember you. We remember your weapons. We remember your ships. We are coming with everything we have. This galaxy will burn as others have burned before it." The gateway collapsed, leaving only empty space where hundreds of devourer entities had been moments before. But the message remained in everyone's memory, a promise of war on a scale that would dwarf everything they had just witnessed. The silence on the bridge after the devourer message was broken by new alarms throughout the Retribution. But these were different alarms, not warning of danger, but announcing something else entirely. "Admiral," said Chief Scientist Seong-ho, "I'm detecting dimensional resonance patterns across the galaxy. The battle here has awakened something." Admiral Tae-ho looked at the readings with an expression of surprise and hope. After 300 years, they are finally waking up. Dr. Soo-jin moved closer to the displays. "Admiral, what's waking up?" "The rest of the Ghost Fleet. When I pulled the Retribution into dimensional phase to escape the final battle, 17 other ships escaped with us. They have been sleeping in hidden dimensions, waiting for a signal that humanity needed them again. On the main screen, space around them began to shimmer and twist. Slowly, shapes began to appear as if materializing from nowhere. First one ship, then another, then more and more, until space was filled with massive human warships that should not exist. Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through their comm system, filled with shock. "Admiral, our sensors show dozens of ships appearing around us. They're all showing human design signatures, but they're each different from the Retribution." "Correct, Captain. Each ship in the Ghost Fleet was designed for a specific type of warfare against the Devourers. Together, we form humanity's ultimate weapon." Mi-young stared at her scanner in amazement. "The energy readings from all these ships combined are beyond measurement. How much power are they generating?" Admiral Tae-ho smiled. "Enough to reshape reality itself if necessary." New consciousness images began appearing on the bridge. A tall woman in Admiral's uniform materialized near the main command station. "I am Fleet Admiral Sungmin, commander of the UHS Sovereign. Admiral Tae-ho, it is good to see you again. What is our situation?" "The Devourers have returned, Fleet Admiral. They have threatened to bring their full force against this galaxy. All 18 ships of the Ghost Fleet are now active and ready for combat." Another consciousness appeared, this one a younger man with the insignia of a ship's captain. "Captain Dong-woo of the UHS Phantom Strike. Admiral, my ship's sensors are detecting coalition vessels approaching this system. Should we remain hidden from them?" Dr. Soo-jin spoke up. "Admiral, those are our people. They're coming to help, but they don't know what they're flying into." Fleet Admiral Sung-min looked at the 3 coalition team members with interest. "These are modern humans? From the current Earth?" "Yes, Fleet Admiral. Humanity survived the Devourer attacks, but all memory of the deep-range colonies and the war was lost." "Fascinating. They rebuilt their civilization without knowledge of dimensional warfare or the Devourer threat." More ship consciousness images continued to appear on the bridge. Each one represented a massive warship with capabilities that defied understanding. Captain Ju-won of the Reality Anchor, Captain Yoon-ji of the Quantum Storm, Captain Byung-ho of the Dimensional Sword. Each ship had been designed to fight the Devourers in a different way. "Fleet Admiral," said Admiral Tae-ho, "the Devourers have threatened to bring their main force to this galaxy. We must prepare for the largest battle in human history." "Agreed. All ships, begin full combat deployment across all dimensional layers. Prepare for multi-dimensional warfare on a galactic scale." Lieutenant Do-hyun watched as the space around them filled with energy fields and weapon systems that existed in multiple dimensions at once. "How do you coordinate so many ships with such complex technology?" Fleet Admiral Sung-min answered him. Our consciousness systems are linked across all dimensions. We can communicate instantly across any distance and coordinate our actions perfectly. We think and fight as one mind distributed across 18 ships. Dr. Su Jin realized the implications. You're not just a fleet of ships. You're a single weapon system composed of multiple parts. Exactly. Each ship handles one aspect of dimensional combat. Together, we can wage war across reality itself. Captain Hyun Woo's voice came through the comm again. Admiral, the Coalition fleet has arrived. 50 ships led by the Dreadnought Unity. They're requesting communication. Put them through to all ships, said Fleet Admiral Sung Min. A new voice came over the communication system, speaking with the authority of high command. Unknown vessels. This is Admiral Chen of the Coalition Defense Fleet. You are in violation of galactic space treaties. Identify yourselves immediately. Fleet Admiral Sung Min responded calmly. Admiral Chen, this is Fleet Admiral Sung Min of ACE, the United Human Systems Deep Range Fleet. We are humanity's defense against existential threats to this galaxy. There was a long pause before Admiral Chen responded. That's impossible. No such fleet exists in Coalition records. Dr. Su Jin requested permission to speak. Admiral Chen, this is Dr. Su Jin aboard the Retribution. These ships and their crews are from humanity's hidden past. They've been protecting the galaxy from threats that normal weapons cannot fight. Dr. Su Jin, you were reported missing when your survey mission failed to report in. What is your status? We're safe, Admiral, but we've discovered something that changes everything we know about human history and capabilities. Admiral Tae-ho added, Admiral Chen, your ship should maintain distance from the Ghost Fleet. We are about to demonstrate capabilities that may affect normal technology in unexpected ways. On the main screen, space began to change as all 18 ships of the Ghost Fleet activated their full systems simultaneously. Reality itself seemed to bend and flow around them. Stars appeared to exist in multiple locations at once. Space twisted into impossible geometries. Engineer Mi Young watched her scanner display readings that made no sense. The ships are existing in overlapping dimensional spaces. They're occupying the same location, but in different layers of reality. Correct, said Captain Dongwu. This allows us to concentrate our firepower while remaining difficult to target. The Devourers cannot attack what they cannot properly locate. Suddenly, new alarms sounded throughout all the ships. But these were not alarms warning of immediate danger. These were alarms announcing the detection of something far worse. Chief Scientist Sung Ho looked at her readings with an expression of grim determination. Fleet Admiral, I'm detecting massive dimensional disturbances throughout the galaxy. The Devourers are opening gateways simultaneously in dozens of star systems. How many systems? Asked Fleet Admiral Sung Min. Initial count shows 47 gateway formations. They're surrounding the galaxy's inhabited core, preparing for a simultaneous attack on all major population centers. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm, filled with confusion and growing alarm. What are you talking about? Our sensors show no unusual activity in those systems. Your sensors cannot detect dimensional warfare preparations, explained Admiral Tae-ho. But we can see everything they are doing. They are preparing to attack every inhabited world in the galaxy at the same time. Dr. Sujin felt a chill run down her spine. How many people live in those systems? Approximately 200 billion. Sentient beings across all species, said Chief Scientist Sung Ho. Fleet Admiral Sung Min's image looked at the tactical displays showing the scope of the Devourer threat. This is what we feared most. A coordinated attack designed to consume entire civilizations before any defense can be organized. Can the Ghost Fleet fight in so many places at once? Asked Do Hyun. We can exist in multiple locations simultaneously, but fighting on this scale will require everything we have learned about dimensional warfare. We must split our consciousness across hundreds of battlefronts while maintaining coordination. Admiral Tae-ho looked at the coalition team members. You are about to witness why humanity developed such advanced technology. When the survival of billions depends on our actions, we become something beyond normal limitations. The Ghost Fleet began to spread out, each ship taking position at different points in space that existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. They were preparing to fight the largest battle in galactic history, one that would determine whether any civilization in the galaxy would survive the Devourer onslaught. The Ghost Fleet spread across the galaxy in ways that seemed impossible to understand. Each ship existed in multiple star systems at once, ready to defend dozens of worlds simultaneously. Dr. Sujin watched the tactical displays as Fleet Admiral Sung Min coordinated the largest military operation in galactic history. All ships report ready for multi-dimensional deployment, said Admiral Tae-ho. 47 Devourer gateway sites confirmed. Population centers in all targeted systems have been identified. Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through their comm system. Fleet Admiral, the Coalition Defense Fleet is requesting orders. We want to help, but we don't understand how to fight enemies we can't even see properly. Fleet Admiral Sung Min responded calmly. Admiral Chen, position your ships near inhabited worlds but maintain distance from dimensional combat zones. Your role will be to evacuate civilians and provide support where normal technology can be effective. Understood. But Fleet Admiral, what exactly are we about to witness? You are about to see what humanity becomes when the survival of all life in the galaxy depends on our actions. The first Devourer gateways began opening across the galaxy. On the main screen, displays showed dozens of star systems where reality was being torn apart as dark entities began pouring through dimensional portals. But this time, humanity was ready. The Retribution and its sister ships launched their attack, simultaneously across all 47 battlefields. Dr. Sujin watched in amazement as the ship around her existed in multiple places at once, fighting battles in star systems thousands of light years apart. How are we doing this? She asked. Chief Scientist Sung Ho looked up from her controls. Consciousness distribution across dimensional space. Our minds exist in all combat zones simultaneously, controlling our ship's actions through quantum entanglement. The battles were unlike anything that had ever been seen in space. Reality anchors fired across multiple dimensions, locking Devourer entities in normal space, where they could be destroyed. Quantum storms swept through enemy formations, erasing entire swarms from existence. dimensional swords cut through space itself, severing the Devourer's connection to their home dimension. Lieutenant Do-hyun watched the tactical displays showing battles happening across the galaxy. It's like watching 50 wars at once. 18 wars fought by 18 different aspects of the same weapon, corrected Admiral Tae-ho. Each ship specializes in different dimensional warfare techniques, but we coordinate perfectly through our linked consciousness. On one display, the Phantom Strike was using probability manipulation to exist in multiple locations around a Devourer swarm, attacking from positions that shouldn't be possible. On another screen, the reality anchor was creating stable zones of space-time that trapped hundreds of entities at once. Engineer Mi Young studied her scanner readings. The energy expenditure for this operation is incredible. You're using the power output of entire star systems. When necessary, said Fleet Admiral Sung-min, humanity learned to harness any energy source required for survival. We draw power from stars, from black holes, from the quantum foam itself. The coalition forces watching from their positions near inhabited worlds could only see small parts of the battle. To them it looked like space itself was at war, with reality bending and twisting as invisible forces clashed across dimensions. Admiral Chen's voice came through the comm. Fleet Admiral, our sensors are detecting massive casualties among the attacking forces, but we can barely see what's happening. How are you achieving such success? Because we are fighting the Devourers in their own environment, replied Admiral Tae-ho. For 3 centuries, we have existed partially outside normal reality. We understand dimensional warfare better than they do now, but the Devourers were not giving up easily. As their initial assault waves were destroyed, they began sending larger and more powerful entities through the gateways. Creatures the size of moons emerged from dimensional portals, their presence warping space-time around entire planets. Fleet Admiral, reported Captain Yoon-ji from the Quantum Storm, the Devourers are deploying their largest entities. I'm reading power levels that rival supernovas. Acknowledged. All ships implement Protocol Omega. Dr. Su Jin saw new consciousness, images appearing on the bridge. But these were different from the ship commanders she had seen before. These were older, more complex, with an authority that seemed to extend beyond normal human understanding. I am Grand Admiral Tae-woo, said the new image. I was the first human to understand dimensional warfare. I have been dormant for 4 centuries, waiting for the moment when all of humanity's survival knowledge would be needed. More ancient consciousness images appeared. Fleet Commander Jin Ho, Strategic Coordinator Min Soo, Weapons Master Hye Jin. Each one represented centuries of accumulated knowledge about fighting existential threats. The deep consciousness protocols are activating, explained Fleet Admiral Sung-min. Every human who ever learned to fight the Devourers, every tactical innovation, every successful strategy is now part of our combined consciousness. The Ghost Fleet began to change again. The ships themselves started to merge across dimensions, becoming not 18 separate vessels, but 18 aspects of a single ultimate weapon. The Retribution remained the central command ship, but now it was connected to all the others through dimensional space. "What are we becoming?" asked Do-hyun. Grand Admiral Tae-woo answered him. "We are becoming what humanity always had the potential to be. A species that can exist across multiple realities, think across multiple dimensions, and fight threats that operate outside the normal laws of physics." The merged Ghost Fleet began its final assault on the Devourer forces, weapons that operated across all possible dimensions, fired simultaneously at every enemy position in the galaxy. Reality storms swept through Devourer formations, while quantum erasers removed entire swarms from existence. But the most incredible display was yet to come. The combined consciousness of the Ghost Fleet began to reshape reality itself around the Devourer gateways. Space-time became solid, trapping the portals and preventing more entities from entering normal dimensions. "Dimensional lockdown complete," reported Strategic Coordinator Min-soo. "All Devourer gateways are sealed. No more entities can enter our reality." The remaining Devourers in normal space found themselves completely cut off from their home dimension, unable to retreat or call for reinforcements. The Ghost Fleet systematically destroyed them all, using weapons and tactics that had been perfected over centuries of warfare. Within hours, the battle was over. 47 star systems had been defended, billions of lives had been saved, and the Devourer threat had been eliminated from the galaxy. But as the immediate danger passed, the Ghost Fleet began to change again. The ancient consciousness images faded, returning to dormancy. The ships separated back into individual vessels, each one returning to its specialized role. "The deep protocols are deactivating," said Fleet Admiral Sung-min. "The emergency is over, and the ancient consciousness can rest again." Dr. Soo-jin looked around the bridge of the Retribution. "What happens now? Does the Ghost Fleet go back into hiding?" Admiral Tae-ho shook his head. "No. The galaxy has seen what humanity is capable of when pushed to our limits. It is time for the truth to be known." Captain Hyun-woo's voice came through the comm. "Admiral, the Coalition Council is requesting immediate meetings with your fleet commanders. They want to understand what just happened and what it means for the future." "Tell them we will meet with them," said Fleet Admiral Sung-min. "It is time for modern humanity to learn about their true heritage." Engineer Mi-young looked at her scanner one more time. "The energy readings are stabilizing, but they're still far beyond anything we thought possible. How do we explain this to the rest of the galaxy?" "We tell them the truth," said Admiral Tae-ho. "Humanity is not the peaceful newcomer species that everyone believed. We are the descendants of a civilization that mastered dimensional warfare to protect all life in the universe." A new voice came through the comm system. It was a young human from Earth, speaking with excitement and wonder. "This is Cadet Ji Hwan, aboard the Coalition training vessel New Horizon. Admiral, some of us are showing unusual responses to the dimensional fields your ships are generating. We can sense things in space that shouldn't be there." Admiral Tae-ho smiled. "The dimensional sensitivity gene is awakening in the new generation. Earth's children are remembering what their ancestors could do." Dr. Soo-jin realized what this meant. "You're going to train them, aren't you? Create a new generation of dimensional warriors." The galaxy will always face threats that normal weapons cannot handle, said Fleet Admiral Sung Min. Humanity's role as guardians is just beginning. As the Ghost Fleet established permanent positions throughout the galaxy, humanity took its place as the protector of all intelligent life. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity unleashed had begun.